Hi, and welcome to the Carolina Journal poll. Each month we poll some of the interesting things that are going on in North Carolina, horse races for November 24, and some of the public policy that we've been talking a lot about at Carolina Journal. So you listen to us a whole lot. This time we want to listen to you. Okay, here's what we found out. This poll was in the field this past weekend, April 7th and 8th, and there were some interesting findings. What struck you, Mitch?
Well, I think we see some of the horse race things, which
Sure.
are always helpful, maybe some tightening in that governor's race.
Okay.
And also we see the impact of adding RFK Jr.
Sure.
to the presidential race. Last time we looked at this, we said, what would you say between Trump and Biden?
Right.
But we didn't have a third option other than someone else. This time we threw in RFK Jr.
Sure.
And you see that he gets about 7% of the poll and takes away a little bit from Trump, a little bit
Right.
from Biden, but also takes a lot away from the people who are already saying someone else.
Sure.
So it isn't particularly clear at this point that he takes away more votes from either Trump or Biden.
All right, so you can find all of this poll right on carolinajournal.com if you want to look at those numbers yourself. Something else interesting that came out of this, the gubernatorial ballot. We're still seeing Republican Mark Robinson in the lead. He's got about 40%, but that is tightening. His lead is decreasing since we last polled you in March. Stein around 38%, and Robinson was up about 5 points. Now he's only up 2. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and with the margin of error,
Sure.
that's certainly within that margin of error. You couldn't say that either one has a substantial lead. Plus, there's a large percentage of undecided people. So there are a lot of people still to
Sure.
be convinced between now and November, which will mean, I'm sure, a lot of campaigning, a lot of campaign ads.
Absolutely. Now, we always ask this because it's important. Governor Roy Cooper may not be on your ballot come November, but his approval rating is important because he's very closely tied to the current Attorney General and Democrat gubernatorial candidate. Governor Cooper's approval rating has dropped 4 points since we last polled it in March. He's hovering right around 44% approval rating, down from about 48, but this is similar to the president.
Yeah, well, the president is well underwater and has been
Sure.
ever since we've done this poll for a number of months. Roy Cooper's still above water, and one change that we see this time around is we restored the option of people saying you neither approve nor disapprove,
Okay.
which had been out from the last poll. So some of the decline that we saw from Roy Cooper was more people jumping into the neither approve nor disapprove camp. Still, he's a few points above water. One of the few Democrats who gets favorable reviews in North Carolina, which is something Stein is really trying to cash in on, trying to tie himself to Cooper so he can be the next Cooper and get that great support. But I don't know that Stein's there yet.
Right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the quality of life things that we're learning. Do you think things are going well? Are you spending too much money? Those kind of things. What struck you?
Well, I think one thing that we found that was very interesting was that people said they're going to be spending a heck of a lot more. They have been spending a lot more money on groceries.
Sure.
They're going to be spending less money on travel
Right.
because of the higher costs. I think that's something that will weigh in on people's minds when they vote.
Absolutely. About 80% of you that were respondents in this poll, 80% said you're spending more on groceries right now than you did a year ago. 43%, which is actually a plurality in these crosstabs, say you're going to spend less on summer travel. Now, with all the weather warming up, we're already thinking about it. 43% of North Carolinians say they're planning on spending less. And generally, still, we've seen this over and over, folks are saying that North Carolinians are saying that the country is on the wrong track.
Yeah, and that's something that we've seen for a while, and it'll be interesting to see whether that changes at all between now and November. The more people think things are on the right track, the better that means for the incumbent party. The more they think things are on the wrong track, the more people want to change.
Sure. So those right track, wrong track numbers, wrong track was 64%. So a pretty significant number in that case. All right, let's move on to a few policy questions. This is something John Locke Foundation, Carolina Journal, we focus on a lot. So we want to know what you think about some of these policy things. 3 in 4 voters, a little more than 75%, 78%, say that they are not taking part in sports betting. This is a big story, and it's been something that we've focused on here at Carolina Journal, lots of other news outlets too, but 75% say They are not participating in sports betting and don't plan to in the future.
And don't plan to, because we gave options of people saying you have bet and you're not going to do it again,
Sure.
or you have bet and you're going to do it again,
Right.
or
That was tough,
yeah,
too.
it had several options. But basically, as you said, 3 out of 4 people said, I'm not doing it and don't plan to do it in the future. And we did this right as March Madness was happening. So
Sure.
if you think that people are not going to be big bettors in general, maybe they do it at this time of year. Sounds like a lot of North Carolinians are meh about it.
Right. And it is going to generate some revenue. We heard Jason Sain come out this week and say, look, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But it is going to generate some revenue for the state. So we thought we wanted to make sure, see what you thought about it. Opportunity scholarship, something we talk about a lot. What did we find from that? Because it seems to be a popular thing with North Carolina voters.
Still popular. We saw that I think it was about 60% of
About
people
that.
liked the idea, and the downside was in the mid-20s, so there were still some people who were unsure. Then we talked about the funding for opportunity scholarships, since there are so many people who applied, and the General Assembly doesn't have enough money to fund all of the possible scholarships this year.
Okay.
We asked, do you think that they should add more money? And then we gave people the option, no, keep the money the same, or no, I don't even like scholarships. The plurality was plus 40%
Okay.
who said add more money. And then about 19% or so said, no, the funding's about right. And then a similar number that said, no, I don't support opportunity scholarships. So it is a sense among some people that, hey, we should add some more money so that people can actually get the scholarships.
Sure. And it's important to note also that these are fresh polls. These are numbers coming right off the press. We're bringing them right to you, and you can find them on carolinajournal.com because they were just in the field this past weekend. So one of the things I do think that's interesting is about half the voters that we polled said there should be a limit on legislative sessions, but very few thought we should increase pay.
Yeah, we threw out this question and we gave people the numbers. They get paid less than $14,000 a
Sure.
year plus a small daily payment for the time they're in session, and that there's no limit on the sessions. And we said, well, do you think that's enough? And most people seem to say, yeah, that's fine.
Right.
Pay them that amount. And then we asked, should they increase the pay to $25,000?
Okay.
Because right now it's under 14.
Sure.
And most people said no.
Yeah.
And then we talked about limiting legislative sessions, and people said yes.
Very interesting. All right, now here's another one that's been in the news a lot lately because the North Carolina School Boards Association has advised school systems across the state to start banning cell phones in the classroom. Now, this is something that, having a teenager myself, I don't think that they would know what to do without a cell phone. So a lot of these school boards are saying, okay, we're going to cut out the cell phone use in schools, but there was some pushback from parents. So we had to ask you, what do you think? Should cell phones be banned in classroom? Well, just 24% said that students should be allowed their cell phone in the classroom. 64% said no cell phones.
Yeah, I'm not terribly surprised, though. It'll be interesting to see what the difference is between parents and non-parents, because
Sure.
remember, this is a general election poll, and there are probably a lot of people who don't have kids at school who think, well, they're not learning anything.
Right.
If they're on their phones, take the phones away. I would suspect that there might be some more parents who would say, allow them to have the phone so we can keep in contact with them.
Sure.
Maybe not in class, but certainly at school.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlotte Meck recently, a few others have banned them. So that's one reason we wanted to find out what you thought. Now, also, as spring is springing around the state here, finding ourselves more out in the neighborhood, roaming around, we wanted to find out what you think about homeowners associations. Because every year it seems like there's some sort of conflict, right?
Yeah, and I was not surprised to see that people are not really fans of their
Yeah.
homeowners associations and would be very supportive of types of rule changes that would restrict what homeowners associations can do.
Sure.
Because we see stories very frequently of homeowners associations going to court against people because they didn't like the way they did their lawn or
Sure.
the way they painted their house. And I think a lot of people think, well, it's your property.
Right.
Well, how can the homeowners association go in and, other than complain, just try to take your property away?
Sure. Very interesting. Yeah, it was interesting. Just 18% of respondents had a favorable view of HOAs. All right, so if you want any other information about
Those
this,
are the people on the board.
yeah, those are people on the board. Yeah, exactly. All right, head over to carolinajournal.com. You'll have all the crosstabs, all the information, and lots more questions that we have for our April poll, digging into just what you think about what's happening in North Carolina. And we're going to be bringing this to you every month. Thanks so much.